Well, good afternoon, and we'll catch up here pretty quick so I can get right back to work. Some things, I'm getting further into this thing. So there's the right-hand section, far right-hand section right there, and the pieces that are, a few pieces along that section came from that area right there, just those pieces there. Other than that, we're looking at the right-hand side of section 5, down into section 4, and it looks like I kind of slowed down. I didn't actually, as much as I had set a whole bunch of these pieces and then came back and started fitting them. So that takes a little while to come in here. I've shown you how that works, but we'll look at something I'd need to work on, and then we'll get off of it. All of this in here needs work. That's a pretty good fit right across there. That's a little bit wide there, so we'd move this piece around just a little bit. But there's some work right there that's going to be required to get these to fit right. This one here, that's getting in a pretty good spot. Maybe needs a little bit of work. Right around there, not too bad, right there. So that's all we lack right now with the pieces that have been put down and that haven't been foiled. One right here. And I've gone on up here and got all this done up in here. And if you'll notice, I'll show you in just a minute, the crown is sitting on top of there. And let me do this. I think somebody had a question about the bottom of this thing. Let me show you this. It's just a big round 3/4 inch plywood plug, if you will. And I cut it to fit snug inside there. And then I just screwed it in 4 places on the side. This is made out of fiberglass. Screwed it there and every 90 degrees all the way around. And right now, since we want to see the crown, I was working in this area right here, and I can have this right in my face so I can see what I'm doing. So all I would do, and I can do this with one hand, is I'm going to lift this thing up and unscrew that fitting out of the bottom. There, we unscrewed that fitting, and then we'll take these bars out. I could have done that before. There we go. Okay, and you know, kind of jarred the lamp a pretty good little lick there, and nothing fell off because this wax that's on the mold holds the glass so well. So let's take a tour around there and see how far we've come on around. Got a ways to go. We still don't have 2 full sections yet. And so what I was going to do now is I've got the crown and I got the base. And this came from Century Studios over in St. Paul, and it's an exquisite piece of work. And I'll show you in just a minute how this whole lamp setup works. And isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? There's the switch right there. I did one of these lamps many, many years ago that used I did a wisteria. And that base right there was a less expensive base and did not have this switch in it. And then years later, I did a trumpet creeper, and it had this same base, but did not have that switch in it. So I was excited to get the lamp from Century and have this switch as part of it. And that's just look at that, the work in that switch. Everything about this lamp is so authentic. Got the woven cord, cloth cord. I don't know what that's, nylon, rayon, or whatever it is. Anyway, old school plug. Look at this area where the bulbs go, all 4 bulbs. And then this male piece right here fits into the top of this. And before I take this loose, I want to tell you what I've done. I've worked around here to find the area. Let's go around, see if I can move it around here, to where I need to put these leaded branches. And here's a section right here, and I've got them numbered a little odd, but there's a reason for that. So there's number 1, number 3, number 2, and there's number 1, and number 1 goes on there something similar to that, and it'll be soldered to this crown. I've got to clean this brown finish off the crown right there so I can solder to that, and on the inside as well. And I spent some time figuring out exactly where to put this crown, and I'll show you how I've marked that, by the way. Anyway, let's do number 3. So there's number 3, and that'll bend over, get this thing where you can see it. That'll bend over the lamp form. This is lead, right? Here, watch this. Okay, it's lead, and it's been plated with copper. Okay, that was number 3, and then number 2 goes on there like that. And I've got, of course, get it to work and fit down in here. That's why I did not want to put any of this glass in, because I knew I was going to have to try to fit those lead branches, and I didn't have the crown yet, so I just got it yesterday. Now, I want to put the crown right back in this exact spot. So all I've done here is just mark a triangle up into the crown on that side, and then another one right there. So that'll get me right in the ballpark when I get ready to set this thing back on. So let me see if I can get this thing up with one hand. And I want to set it right here. Okay. Heavy duty. There's what the female opening looks like. This is the underside of the crown. All right. And of course, you can tell that the lamp is going to be attached or soldered to the crown all the way around the outside and all the way around the inside. And then if you were to pick the shade up, like I'm going to pick this up right here, you'll set the whole shade right down there. And of course, the shade will go down to somewhere in this area about right here. I forget how many inches it is. 15. It's 15 down from here, and then 18 inches in diameter across. That's real close. Anyway, that's how it's done. So I've got this set. Now I'm trying to decide now if I want to go ahead and set the crown in and start by doing the glass work up to the crown in association with these branches. And I'm trying to figure out if would I be better off doing that, or would I be as well or better off if I just stay on the lamp and continue on around here. And one school of thought in my mind is that if I have to do any unnecessary twisting or turning with this crown up here, then I'll have a lot more area here to mess up hitting it with my arm or hand or knocking something loose here. I don't know. I have not figured that out. I'll make that decision. I'll put a few more pieces in today, and I'll make that decision on what to do about continuing on around here, or should I just go on up and put the crown in? I don't have that figured out yet. I'll try to think of the advantages of one and the disadvantages, and what would I gain by going ahead and doing it now? Would it be okay if I did it later? I don't know. I'm going to put some thought into that. Anyway, that's where we are. We're in section 4, section 5. So I kind of would like to go ahead and start working with this upper glass in seeing how that's going to fit. I know I'm going to have some issues right here getting that lead to come down over the lamp bent correctly, and that glass, all fitting nicely and then inside of this cavity. I did get a tip from the guys at Century that they actually cut this vein out right here. And that might be a good idea, because that's going to be real restrictive about where I am able to put the glass. And if I cut that vein out, I'll still have the branch riding proud of the lamp itself. And what I mean by that is, see this branch over here, which I was able to work that in. That branch is above or riding proud of the lamp exterior or plane of the lamp. So that's the thought behind this thing, and I don't think it's going to... Where'd it go? Right here. Am I missing that? Number 1, right there. There it goes. All right. Anyway, I'll cut this all out of there, and then I can see that I could go ahead at that point and work these. I think it was 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pieces of glass. I can go ahead and put that 8 pieces of glass together, since I don't have that rigid vertical spine here inside that lead. Or I wouldn't have to cut it all out. I could cut parts of it out. I'll have to figure that out. But if I wouldn't have that rigid spine, then it would be able, or I would find it easier to go ahead and put that branch section in there, because all I would have to do is move it back and forth. So I'm kind of in that school of thought, but I only want to hack out that center part of one of these, and I got to make a decision. Maybe do I want to do all of it, or do I want to try to fit it with that in there? I think my preference right now, I'm going to go ahead and make a shot at seeing what that looks like if I leave the vein, this horizontal or vertical vein in there, and see how much trouble that is. Do I gain anything by doing that? And if you say, well, if you cut this off, you weaken this, that might be true. You would weaken it enough to get it bent over the, bent over the lamp. But you're going to come back and fill that all with solder anyway. And you're going to be soldering that line, even though it's void of this bar here, you're going to be soldering that line to the two adjacent pieces of glass that have foil on them. So I'm not going to really lose anything. And if anything, if you were to think about this ridge here, right now this ridge is 100% lead with a thin coating of copper over it. If you were in fact to get rid of that and flood that or float that out with solder, then that ridge goes from lead, like it is now, to being 60-40 solder, which would mean that it's 60% tin, that ridge now, and 40% lead. So I would end up actually with a stronger a joint all the way around this thing if I were to cut that out. So I'm going to put some serious thought into that. So that's where I'm at with that. That's going to be fun. And, oh boy, for the last few days, 2, 3, 4 days, I impart this before I go. The more of this I do, the more I like it. And now I've reached a point yesterday, maybe for 2 or 3 days, that when I finish the end of the day, like it's a little after 4 o'clock here, I'll go on till 5. But at the end of the day, you just hate for it to end. And I start dreading in the afternoon now for the hours to go by as fast as they do, because this is, I don't know, this is very, very enjoyable. Working to get these pieces to fit one right after another, and then you foil each one. And I will say this, that in respect to pieces of glass on a lamp, 2,000 is a big number. But I'm enjoying it, so that's fun. Of course, I don't know, maybe by the time, look how there's a ways to go here. Let's turn this thing around. So, oh man, somewhere around there's the other side. So there's a whole bunch of glass here yet to go. Look at the size of those pieces. And what that means to me is that I hope I enjoy all the rest of it. I'm sure I will. Once you start really moving and making some progress, then that kind of motivates you to keep going. So tomorrow I'll work this area up here, and I'll spend the next day or two trying to decide all of the advantages and disadvantages of putting the crown on now or not doing it. I would not put any of this glass up in here until I put the crown on, because there's going to be some alterations made to some of these pieces here for sure. Well, anyway, that's all I have. You've seen the gorgeous base. Wow. That's just right out of about 1900, right there. Gorgeous piece of work. Boy, those, I'm proud. I'm so happy that I only had to drive over to St. Paul and get that. Anyway, I've mentioned already who they are. I don't want to keep going. I told them yesterday I'm such fans of their work. I sound like a stalker, so I don't want to keep beating them their store to death. But they're such good work. Anyway, thank you all. I appreciate it. I'm going to go back here and race back onto this thing, and my plan is right now. Isn't that an interesting piece right there? My plan is now to probably just start moving across here, and it is working for me. I work from right to left. I like, here we are. We're as far right as we could go here because this is already foiled. So I start right here and look at this piece, and is there anything I need to do to that piece to make it fit well in relationship to this piece? I generally is not going to grind on these until I put some other pieces on top of them, because sometimes if you were to grind here, you'll throw yourself off here with the way these are put in. So it's kind of like this is all too tight right in here. Let me get that down where you can see it. That right there, that, give me a little poker here. I'll get you out of here in a second here. Right there, that's too tight right there, a little bit too tight there. And we have no idea of what the top of this thing is going to look like in respect to this piece of glass here or here. It appears from the cartoon that everything here, all three, 1, 2, 3, all three of these pieces of glass are running into the three that are above, but we don't know that. We might mount this one, and this one could actually end up being kind of small, and then this one here might require nothing but a little bit of grinding right across the bottom for it to fit, and the same thing here. Or we could here, if this is infringed too much into this piece and you like the shape of that, then you'll come back here and just grind that little area right there off. We still need to come down here and clean this up. So that's what you just go on step at a time, a piece at a time. You work on every one to make it look as good as you can possibly get it. Then you go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. At some point here, if you keep going, you'll have 2,000 of them, and you could look back on all 2,000 of them and say, well, I put those in the best possible place I could put them. Now see, you can just do this for 100 years, but that piece right there is a little too low, but it's okay. It's got some room here. So I'm trying to spread that out just a little bit right there. Anyway, we're getting pretty close, and why we want to move up here and we can come off here is because we've got a piece right here that's going to come in here, and how is it going to look in respect to these two? So that's the way it works. It's actually not all that complicated. You just kind of get into a mindset of what it takes to make each one of these pieces fit, and that's not even anything difficult to see. And then you make decisions about where you want to grind it or touch it up, put the foil on it, and go to the next piece. You just keep going and going and going. Anyway, I appreciate all the attention that this thing gets. I'm happy that we started in the beginning with this thing when there was hardly any glass cut, and here we are. Oh, and I'm kind of thinking that I'm just past halfway. Not halfway putting the glass on here, but about halfway the effort, maybe real close to halfway. Anyway, thank you again. Bye now.